years ago.
Well, let's see. Venture number one is a successful tell your children not to hear my words, what they mean, what they say. Mother, can you keep them in the dark?
Those who are trying to prepare themselves for entry into the evolutionary level.
Skydiving or motorcycling, please welcome Rodney Alcala.
Father, I'm gonna take your daughter out tonight. Gonna show her my world. Father,
enlightenment simply means I know myself.
not about to see your light, but if you wanna find hell with me, I can show you what it's like. Till you're bleeding.
Best time is at night.
I'm
You had to die to your family members in order to be committed to the church.
But
And
if
when did
you
you start to
wanna
realize
find
this isn't
hell,
normal, this is a cult?
I can show
We'll title this
you
tape
what it's
Planet Earth About to be Recycled.
Tell your children not to hold my hand.
What's all this doomsday stuff?
Tell your
What's all
children
this
not to
prophetic stuff?
understand.
We don't have a single
Oh,
thief.
mother.
We don't have any crime.
Whatever this kingdom was about, self-enlightenment, free love,
Do you wanna feel everything?
If planet is about to be recycled, and we see the planet as a stepping stone.
Doesn't it concern you, though, that this man, for whatever reason, one of the people in your group,
But if you wanna find hell,
and lie,
I'm gonna
lie,
show
what can I do that lies?
what
He
it
denies being in a cult and says she's not a victim.
I have a question. Are you guilty of any murders? Are you guilty of plotting any murders?
to see your light. But if you wanna find hell with me, I'm gonna show you what it's like. Till you're bleeding, I'm not about to see your light. But if you wanna find hell with me, I'm gonna show you
Now, is the pain gone?
Hey there, I hope you're all doing well. A little bit of music trivia for you. During the montage, you may have noticed Charles Manson, as well as some of the members of his cult. Back in 1968, the Beach Boys released the single Bluebirds Over the Mountain. On the B-side of that recording was a track titled Never Learn Not to Love. Some of the lyrics included themes such as ceasing to exist and submission is a gift given to another, which was written by Charles Manson. It turns out one of the members of the Beach Boys, Dennis Wilson, met Manson through a random encounter after Wilson had picked up a couple of hitchhikers named Patricia Krenwinkel and Ella Jo Bailey. Unbeknown to Wilson, the hitchhikers were Manson followers. Wilson invited Krenwinkel and Bailey to his home, and eventually he left his residence for work commitments, which entailed traveling away from the Los Angeles area where his residence was located. Upon Wilson's return, he discovered Krenwinkel and Bailey were living in his house along with Manson. Interestingly, despite the fact that these people were squatting at his residence, Wilson was fascinated by Manson. In fact, at one point, Wilson wanted the rest of the Beach Boys to join the Manson family. Although the other Beach Boys didn't go along with this idea, they did attend a dinner party with several others who would go on to commit the 1969 killings of actress Sharon Tate, Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger, Wojciech Frykowski, and Stephen Parent. Wilson's brief friendship with Manson turned his life upside down, and Manson's presence was so overbearing it not only took over Wilson's home, but also his life and finances. Many have speculated Manson suffered from narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder. Some believe that narcissistic personality disorder likely contributed to his grandiose sense of self-importance, as well as a need for constant admiration, and this also helps to explain his apparent lack of empathy towards others. Many also point out he seems to have had antisocial personality traits, such as lack of remorse or guilt, manipulative behavior, and disregard for societal norms, which many point out were noticeable in Manson's actions. Also in the montage was Jim Jones and his followers from the People's Temple. Many believe, like Manson, Jones also had narcissistic personality disorder. I read that it's estimated approximately 5% of the population has narcissistic personality disorder. Like many cult leaders, Jones possessed a charismatic allure and was able to leverage his charm to captivate people. Ultimately, Jones and Manson used their charisma to manipulate people and satisfy their internal demons. At its peak, Jim Jones's People's Temple had over 3,000 members. Approximately 900 of them died in the 1978 Jonestown Massacre. The number of Jones's followers highlights how certain personality traits can enable one person to control and manipulate so many others. This leads me to the subject matter of this video, which ties into a similar topic I covered in episode 37, which was about personality types and red flags. In episode 37, I mentioned how you'll hear people from time to time give advice such as you should look for and associate with like-minded people. When I hear this, to me it usually means to have a political connotation to it rather than one related to having similar morals or ethics. I think in that they are suggesting you should align yourself with those who have similar political views. This usually seems to come up in conversations where someone is telling you that you need a group during times of crisis, and that if you have a group of like-minded people on your side, then you'll thrive compared to those who don't. I don't particularly subscribe to that line of thinking. It is true there are strength in numbers. But if you end up in the wrong group, then it's possible you could find yourself worse off than if you were on your own. Not all groups are successful, and sometimes the ecosystem of a group can fail when its philosophy is challenged and the group's ideology is pushed to their limits. In some cases, this has had deadly consequences because certain group leaders didn't really have a plan. They merely wanted power and control over others, and when that desire for dominance was challenged, the group collapsed because they were built on weak and immoral foundations.
are you guys doing?
Certain social and political alignments may check some boxes, but that doesn't mean the alignment is healthy to be around. I once heard someone say we make the wrong people famous. I think there is some truth to that statement. The people our society offers up for all to admire usually end up disappointing us. They disappoint us because somewhere in the fog of cult of personality, we forget that they are like the rest of us, deeply flawed. I think this is a good segue into discussing the cult of internet personalities. There are some great aspects to our modern technology, but the dark side of all the modern marvels we enjoy is it seems to foster a culture of narcissism. Many people you see on the internet want to be famous, and in some cases even infamous, but usually just end up as micro-celebrities at best. Many of the people that you see on YouTube, X, Facebook, and in all the other online ghettos are full of advice on what you should buy, what you should think, or how you should react. But you rarely hear any of these people discuss where their principles and integrity originate from. I think that's because most of the people you see only want to be influencers. They want to be just charming enough to sway you to buy a product and get you excited about consumerism or whatever flavor of social movement they're currently into. As mentioned in episode 37, I try to find those who have similar values and morals and ask where they derive their morals and ethics from, and then try to decide if we're in proper alignment. I won't try to pretend I've always viewed friendships or relationships that way. It took me a long time of trial and error to figure that out. The interesting thing about certain people, whether they're influencers or someone who wants control, is they desperately try to pull you into their orbit through a variety of psychological tactics so they can keep you there. They want you to only focus your attention on them and either directly or indirectly get you to cut off communication with anyone that might try to dissuade you from their manipulative tactics. That's one of the interesting things about communication. It's not all just technology based with radios, the internet, or cell phones. It's interpersonal too. When someone wants to have control over you, who you can and can't talk to, or wants to be the middleman between you and everyone else, then you know this person has insidious intentions. Insidious, now there's an interesting word. Something that's unpleasant or dangerous, which develops gradually without being noticed. It's not just certain narcissistic individuals, but also governments, social media platforms, and news conglomerates who have that insidious intention to control the narrative. You can recognize this because they disguise their intentions behind phrases like community safety or creating safe spaces. It's all just a bunch of self-appointed keepers of information and communication that no one asked for. In 1979, there was a book published called The Culture of Narcissism, American Life in an Age of Diminishing Expectations by Christopher Lasch. The book is a critique of American culture, and the author argues that changes in the economy have led to a culture where narcissistic behavior has become normalized. He talks about a variety of cultural, artistic, and social phenomenon, including political movements and New Age movements, through a Freudian lens of narcissism, which he sees as an underlying trait like the obsession with fame as well as the fear of competition. Lasch suggests that the rise in prosperity alongside a scarcity of meaningful jobs has devalued traditional wisdom and authority, leading to a negative impact on individual character. And he criticizes both the progressive left for undermining family structures, as well as the right for promoting market liberalism, which he believes destabilizes communities that are essential for character formation. And he also talks about how business culture fosters narcissism by valuing manipulation over deep personal relationships. And he's critical of certain feminist ideas, suggesting that women returning to work has led to attachment issues in children, which he connects to the rise of narcissism. I thought it was an interesting take on modern American life, and it got me thinking about some of the reasons as to how we got to this intersection of trying to integrate advancements of technology and social changes into our lives. Anyway, all of this is just something to think about the next time someone tries to leverage charm or fear to manipulate others into purchasing a product, or want you to pay to join their group so you can have the inside baseball on all the doom and gloom they're disseminating. Unless you actually go outside, if all you did was watch social media, you would think nothing good happens and it's all doom and gloom. The fact is, bad things have always happened, and in the future there will be more bad things. There's nothing wrong with being prepared, but don't let people terrify you into walking around with blinders on and let someone become the middleman between you and reality. That's how the narcissists get you. Their intentions start out appearing to be innocent, and you don't find out how insidious they really are until you realize you're a frog in a boiling pot of water. Now you may be saying people in cults probably aren't very smart. That's not true. In fact, if you take Jonestown, Heaven's Gate, the Rajneeshi, or the Manson family as examples, they each had their fair share of intelligent people. Heaven's Gate had doctors, lawyers, and several other people who were professionally successful and generally intelligent people. Of course, a fair question to ask is, if they're so smart, how did they end up in a cult? And the paradox is, smart people can rationalize their way through and around just about anything. And I think sometimes people's need to feel part of something or fill a void where a sense of belonging is missing, and being a part of something bigger helps people rationalize belonging to that group. But in reality, these associations are detrimental to them. In the context of general preparedness for things like natural disasters or civil unrest, I think when you hear people on the internet, whether it's YouTube or some other online forum, telling you that you need to be in a group for when catastrophe strikes, these people are just parroting what they've heard other people say. Because after that line is delivered, no one expands on it and defines what type of group you should look for. What are the personality types and traits that make a successful group? What does successful leadership look like? What does overall success look like? After the group's goals have been achieved, should it be disbanded, or should the mission of the group be redefined? If the group's mission is redefined, should there be a change in leadership and support roles? Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.